everybody. Welcome to Hey, We're Talking. It's me, Scotty D, the host of your wonderful podcast called Hey, We're Talking. And then got my good friend and co-host, Bob Heel, over there. Smoking a pipe. What are you smoking?
I'm smoking Dunhill Nightcap. So here's the cool thing. So I've been smoking Dunhill Nightcap for a while. So I go into my local tobacconist the other day. And, the owner is a really, really nice guy. He actually did some work in my house. He's a contractor as well.
Wow.
Yeah. And I go in there and tell him, hey, I just want to get some of this nightcap. And typically, I buy it in bulk from him. So typically, I'll go in and I'll just weigh out my own tobacco and all that stuff and go up to the counter and be like, hey, I want X amount of ounces. And, I'm honest about it, and they know that. And this week I was lucky enough that the owner, my friend Mark, just filled up like a sandwich bag, and he's like, "Here, man, just take it." I'm like, "Well, let me take care of this. Let me pay you for it." And he's like, "Don't even worry about it,
dude."
So I've got, this jar full of nightcap and several other tins that I just carry around. This tin is not Virginia #1.
It's nightcap.
It's just full of nightcap, so that's pretty much what I'm smoking.
Nice. I got some over here, is where my tobacco stuff is, that has been in a mason jar for probably a year and a half now, untouched.
Yeah, see, like nightcap is one of those things where I'm one of those guys, I could just smoke it regularly, not a problem. Other people like to let it sit and chill a little bit because it is higher in nicotine. And it is a little bit more of a stout, bold kind of tobacco. So you mellow that stuff out like you have there, that's going to be a good smoke at some point.
Sweet. Can't wait. All right. So on Wednesday, we talked about sports and the sports hole, and then we started talking about basketball and why we didn't like basketball. And we talked a little bit about soccer and how we thought soccer was boring. And Juan, sorry that we talked about soccer and said it was boring. It's, you know what, if your kid's playing it especially, I can understand why you'd be into it.
Well, they love soccer. They love the fact that their kids play soccer. And one of their kids, Isaiah, who's the goalie, he's a very good soccer player. This kid can play. So I understand him being in it. Just his music, my son's very good. He's a very good musician for a 14-year-old kid. So of course, that encourages me to get more into music more than I am now. So,
sure.
Yeah, I get it.
And I will say this. One of the things, I want to go back and talk about soccer for just a minute here. I will admit the reason that I'm slightly drawn to it is the songs. When the whole crowd is singing the songs for that team, it is fun, dude. We make fun of Kevin all the time and do the Chelsea, but that is fun, dude. Can you imagine if they did that at like the Bears games, like really got going like that?
Reminds me more of like college football.
Yeah.
How there's camaraderie, how there's that everyone's on the same team, everybody's just loving their team. That's really what they do with soccer, and that's the one thing nobody can ever knock them for. Those people invest their time, they invest their money, they invest everything they possibly can into their soccer teams, and that's in part why they've got such a huge following. It's never been a big thing to me. I'm not knocking it by any means. It takes a lot of talent and energy and all of that stuff to be a player and be a follower of that team, but it's just not my thing. That's all.
Yeah. There's a now we had a team when I was a kid for a very short time in Detroit called the Detroit Express, and my dad took me to a game, but it was at this place called the Silverdome, which was humongous. It was huge. It's where the Lions played, and we were in literally the nosebleeds of America, and it was tough to watch soccer from the third deck up at the very top.
Yep.
So, but I will.
Was that the Pontiac Silverdome?
Pontiac Silverdome, yeah. Which they finally are tearing that place down. They let it get so bad, but
isn't the whole city of Detroit like that?
Actually, it is fun to make fun of Detroit, but I'll tell you, it's actually starting to do pretty well. They're making a comeback. They've the city has literally bottomed out. This is going to happen. This is a lot of man. We got to talk about this someday because this is true. Chicago is a much more cool city as far as like, it's on Lake Michigan. There's just, you guys have better stuff going on in Chicago, but Chicago, and you put something up about this last week, not Chicago, but the state of Illinois is in financial ruin. And I mean, that's the kind of stuff. I read an article a couple years back that said Chicago was going to be the next Detroit. I don't think that's going to happen in Chicago because it's got so many cool things. But you guys are in such bad financial situation. It's sickening.
Yeah, I mean, I'll touch on that a little bit, but I don't want to get started because then Bob will become very upset. But here in Illinois, we finally passed our first budget in 3 years for the state.
Oh my gosh.
And it came with a 32% tax increase. So I figured it out based upon all the parameters that I've seen, and it's going to cost my family an extra $1,100 a year to live in this state by our income tax being increased.
My gosh, dude.
Now you think, okay, $1,100 isn't that much. It's less than $100 a month. But imagine taking $100 a month and throwing it in the trash.
Yeah, because they're not going to use it properly.
No, because the things that have gone on with the Illinois budget is they basically put a Band-Aid on it, and they haven't fixed the real issues.
Yeah.
They've raised our taxes, but they haven't fixed the education gap. They haven't fixed the I don't know how other states work, but if you work within state government for 1 year in Illinois, you get a pension.
Yeah.
They don't have that in many
Bob, when you're talking about Chicago and Illinois, don't look at your phone because you're going to get lost. You had a great train of thought going, but you look down.
I know. See, I got to flip it back over.
What is going on? Are people literally just like, Bob, come back? Is that what's going on?
I don't even know. That was Instagram.
You lie. What was it? Oh, it was Instagram?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, listen, let's not talk about Chicago. We should talk about that someday, though, because, dude.
We will.
But Detroit's making a comeback. I was going to say one of the things that they're trying to do is they're trying to get an MLS franchise. The guy who owns the Cavs is from Detroit, and he wants to build. I think he's the guy that owns like Quicken Loans and all that stuff.
Okay.
He wants to build this just amazing stadium, and they're working on getting it done. And he wants to get an MLS franchise. But there is a team in Detroit, a soccer team, and I don't know what I don't know the league it's in or whatever, but it's like we're talking like just people that come and play for the heck of it. But it's called Detroit FC, so it's Detroit Football Club.
Okay.
And they have these things. You can look it up. Just look up on YouTube, and I'm sure this happens all over the country. But they march down the streets like all the fans with all their little scarves on and everything. They march through the streets of Detroit down to this place where they play, and they play the games. Dude, it's crazy. So soccer fans they're sold out, dude. Fully.
Well, I mean, hopefully they continue to build that team and build that city back up because Detroit at one point was the Motor City. It was the place to go, and unfortunately over the years and bad politics and all this stuff, they've diminished into what they were. Probably about a year and a half ago, something like that, I was looking at a piece that was put together by some news organization or somebody that compared pictures of Detroit and Chernobyl.
Yeah. And it was really bad.
The scenes looked very much alike.
Yep.
It was very, very sad, but that's unfortunately that happens. But I mean, kind of getting back on track to what we wanted to talk about today was considering this is kind of a sports themed week, considering the fact that Derek is not with us this week. MLB, or let's say our top 5 baseball movies of all time.
Yeah. So I'm going to, do you want to just do your whole list or do you want to go one at a time? It's up to you.
let's knock out our number ones. Let's start at the top.
At number one, you're gonna go number one first.
Hey, go big or go home, baby.
All right, go ahead.
So my number one was probably, it's because I love the movie so much. It actually, I think it wound up being a trilogy of movies, but it really made me connect with a hilarious part of baseball, which was Major League.
Yep, that's mine.
The Major League movies were so great. Charlie Sheen didn't have AIDS at that time, and I mean, it was one of those goofy group of movies that were fun and made you feel like, hey, this is what baseball is all about. You had your team, sometimes we all get angry at our baseball team, like, man, you guys suck. And then, oh, you guys are great when you're doing well. You always love your team, but that doesn't mean you don't get angry with your team. And MLB kind of gave you, Major League kind of gave you that feeling, every emotion towards your team. Like, you loved your team, you loved your players, you hated your team, you hated your players, and it just kind of had a very good story that connected you with it.
Yeah, the first Major League movie is the best. The second one was okay. The third one was abysmal, horrible.
What year did the first one come out? Do you know? Don't look at your screen.
I don't have it written down. I have the name of the movie written down, but I didn't write the year. I would say that it came out in 89, 90 maybe.
Oh, very good. 89. Yeah, came out in 89, which I probably saw it in 90 or 91 because I was in 89. I was 9 years old. Maybe 10 years old. So, yeah, I saw it in probably 90 or 91 and just fell in love with the movies.
I was 17, so.
Wow.
Anyway, Major League, great. It's got Wesley Snipes before he got put in jail for tax evasion. It had Charlie Sheen before he had HIV. He's never had full-blown AIDS.
No, not full-blown. Not at all.
No full-blown.
Right, Jake? Never had full-blown AIDS.
Nope.
Sorry, I was speaking to one of our listeners. Sorry.
And at the time, the guy who played Dorn, he was in like L.A. Law or something like that. I can't remember his name. Corbin Burnson. He was kind of a big deal when that movie came out.
Yeah.
And then Serrano ended up becoming the president of the United States of America in 24. Hats for Bats. There you go. Serrano. And I'm trying to think of anybody else on the team that would have been really popular. The best part of the movie is actually the manager. His voice, I love that when he's like, Avon! That gravelly, when he takes Dorn's contract and pisses on it, that's my favorite part of the movie.
My favorite part of the movie is probably anytime, I don't know, that's tough. I'd really have to think about that, what my favorite part is. But, I mean, there was a few parts where Vaughn would come out and it was just that BA guy going to the mound, I mean, that stuff really kind of gets you like, yeah, that's my guy, So, and then of course you have the fan that's like that kind of tapped into what I mentioned earlier was, screw you, Vaughn, you suck.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, Vaughn, you're back.
That was number 2. That was Randy Quaid. Was it Randy or is that his name?
I don't know. I'm not.
It was one of the Quaids. He was the one that said he sucked and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, and then Tom Berenger. I forgot about Tom Berenger, for crying out loud. He was kind of a big deal back then too, and then he fell off the face of the planet. He ended up he did like this movie called The Substitute or something like that. Okay. It was kind of like a drama thing. And then he was in Inception way later, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." So
yeah, you lost me.
You didn't see Inception?
I don't know. I don't think so. Is it an alien movie?
No.
Sounds like aliens.
It's the guy who made all the Batman movies, the Dark Knight movies. You're freaking kidding me if you have not seen Inception. You have to see Inception.
I have not. Anyway,
son of a... Okay, I'm going to say a movie because you made me so angry. Gosh, I can't believe you did not see Inception.
Yeah, I don't think so.
All right. Moneyball.
Google it and see what.
Stick on this for a minute. Moneyball is my number 2. That movie is freaking fantastic. Brad Pitt is what's the name of that guy? Dang it, I lost his name. Bobby Bean or Billy Bean. Billy Bean.
Yeah.
and he ran when we were talking about the San Diego Padres, like totally limited budget, the Oakland Athletics used to have that same issue, and they would do pretty well. They would get these guys in there. They did a very good job of drafting players and building up their team. And then they would leave when they had free agency. Jason Giambi and those guys would go play for the Yankees because the Yankees could pay them anything they wanted.
And what I heard a lot about, not just MLB but NFL, everything, that Oakland is just a crap hole.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. I've never been to Oakland, but I've heard over the years that Oakland is just a dump. People hate playing there. That you can't live in the city, you can't be around the city, so you always have to travel into it to play, and it just sucked.
Dude, they do have rabid football fans, though. The Raiders, Raider Nation. Look out, dude. Look out, Raider Nation. Anyway, but Moneyball was awesome. Tell me you saw Moneyball.
I did see Moneyball, yes.
Okay, go ahead. Brad Pitt, good movie.
Very good movie. My second is probably a classic that we all know, and some may criticize me for saying, oh, it's one of your favorites, but Field of Dreams was an amazing movie. I mean, that was a very, very good baseball movie.
I didn't see it when it was popular. I think probably I just watched it in the last couple of years, so I put that into my kind of honorable mention category only because I didn't get caught up in it when it was actually a big deal. But I know people love Field of Dreams.
Well, Field of Dreams came out in '89, just as Major League, and it seemed like the middle to late '80s to early '90s were the baseball movies. That's when they all came out.
Yep.
And I really wish we'd kind of get that back again. Not only, I mean, because we had an era of football movies too, if you remember. I'd really have to look it up to find out what era that was, but we've had an era of baseball movies, of football movies, and I'd really like to see some new baseball movies come out, some new football movies come out. But Field of Dreams was just kind of one of those classic, heartfelt, movies that you feel good about. You know?
And so Kevin Costner, I kind of have a little bit of a tie here. One of these movies that Kevin Costner is in. Kevin
Costner's your dad?
No.
My gosh, I know that.
That Kevin Costner is in. He was in Field of Dreams, obviously. Bull Durham is one of my favorites. It's a Kevin Costner movie. You like that one too?
Never seen it.
What? Oh my gosh.
So as I look through this list of movies, I'm like, I've never seen Bull Durham.
Oh my gosh. And Kevin Costner is in another movie that I would put in my kind of honorable mention movies, and that is called For the Love of the Game. He's a Detroit Tiger. He's a pitcher. That movie is wonderfully done. It's a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, I recommend that you do so. And then lastly, this is the one that I said was tied in third with Bull Durham, is The Natural with Robert Redford, is one of the greatest baseball movies ever.
That's funny because I've got as my next one was For the Love of the Game and The Natural.
Yep.
Because they're such classic freaking movies. They're just good baseball movies. And if you're not a baseball fan, I think if you watch some of these movies we've mentioned, you'd probably be like, man, baseball is pretty cool. And, it may not.
When it's in a movie, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it may not encourage you to go to a game or watch baseball, but when you see baseball in that raw form, you're like, man, that's good stuff right there.
Yeah, it is. So my number 4 is a movie that's somewhat recent, and I don't think tons of people have seen it, but it's incredible. It's a Clint Eastwood movie. It's called Trouble with the Curve. It's Clint Eastwood, Justin Timberlake, and Amy Adams. Clint Eastwood is a baseball scout, and he's getting older. His eyesight's going. He's having a lot of problems, and he's stubborn, just as Clint Eastwood tends to be in movies sometimes. And it's really fun to watch. It's a good movie. Another one of those ones that I think people can get into the story and enjoy it. And Clint Eastwood's just, the guy, I don't think that he necessarily always makes the most amazing movies, but there's just something about him that's fun to watch.
Well, it's just his very calm demeanor, just how he is just kind of plays into a role. And essentially he's the same character in every movie. I forget what they call that. They call it some type of actor. It starts with an M, but I mean,
Method.
like a method actor, just like, what's the guy? Vince Vaughn is a method actor. It's pretty much the same.
I don't think that's what that means. Method actors mean that they become the character, and that's not what Clint Eastwood. That's not what you're talking about.
No, to me, Clint Eastwood is the same person in every movie. So there's a different term for that. He's the same person in every movie, but his demeanor and the way he is just impacts that film in a particular way.
Yeah. So a method actor, just so you know, would be like when Johnny Depp played the pirate in Pirates of the Caribbean. He got into it,
became Andy Kaufman.
Yes, that's a perfect.
So what's the other version of that?
A one-trick pony.
No. Because like Vince Vaughn is the same Vince Vaughn in every movie, but he can take on the different, So there's a thing for that. I just don't remember what it is.
I think it's just your stereotype. You're just yourself. I mean, that's all there is.
Don't talk like that.
All right.
Anyways, going on to my next ones, I'll rattle off my last two real quick. Angels in the Outfield was a big impact for me.
Get out of here!
It was, because it was 1994 when that came out. I was 13 years old, 14 years old, and that had a big impact for me just because it was baseball in my youth. And then the other one was 42, the Jackie Robinson story. I thought that was done well, and it had a major impact. I mean, Jackie Robinson getting into baseball had a major impact on baseball.
Yeah.
And it was a huge step for segregation. It was a huge step in many ways. So to me, when I saw that movie, it had a big impact on me just because I'm like, yeah, I mean, baseball needed that. The world needed that. And it wasn't just it wasn't just an impact on sports. It was an impact on everything. So it didn't just affect sports. It affected the world. And to me, that had a huge impact watching that movie that came out in...
It was recently. Last 5 years or so.
2013.
Yeah.
So, but it still showed an era of sports and an era of the world that needed to be seen.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a good movie. I didn't have it on my list, but I did think it was a good movie. There's another movie similar to that I thought was incredible if people get a chance to see it. It was called 61. And that is when Mickey Mantle and I can't believe I forgot his name. Doggone it. They were both playing for the Yankees. And
Gehrig?
Say it again.
Lou Gehrig?
No, this guy was not as popular as that. But they were both fighting for the home run title. And the guy he played with ended up getting it. And the home run title was not broken until Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire
cheated.
Until they cheated. But that's a good movie. My last one, I can't believe. Who is it?
Roger Maris.
Yes. Yep, Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris. They were on the same team. Obviously, Mickey Mantle was the, talk of the town. Everybody loved him. Roger Maris was just a guy who was a good ball player and got really, really on a streak, and it was amazing. Anyway, good movie. My big number 5, love this movie. If it comes on TV, I always watch it, The Sandlot. Just amazing.
Yeah, that's another classic from my youth. I failed as a father, and I don't think I've had my kids watch that yet.
You have to.
Yeah, they should.
It's a good movie. All right, listen. I'm sure that we missed some. I even have a couple more on my list that I didn't mention. But
Fever Pitch?
No. Although the original Fever Pitch is about soccer. That was the first one, and then Jimmy Fallon did the one with Drew Barrymore about the Boston Red Sox.
Exactly.
That wasn't a bad movie either, but anyway.
It wasn't a good movie either.
No, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. All right, so I'm sure we missed some stuff. Please let us know. Tell us your favorite baseball movie. I know we had to miss stuff people love, so just throw them out there, mention it in the comments on YouTube and Facebook, or shoot us an email at heywe'retalking@gmail.com. We really, really, really appreciate each and every one of you people that listen to this show and interact with us. You'll never really know how much it means to us. So we appreciate you. We will let you guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday.